We are living through an unprecedented era of opportunity and possibility with all of the access to information that we now have and the connection to all sorts of different people, and therefore the connection and access to experiences that we otherwise wouldn't have access to, right? There is someone who has created what you want to create or something similar enough to it, who hasn't had an experience that you desire to have, a way of life, a lifestyle, a certain manifestation, right? Anything that you want is right at your fingertips. You know, with something like YouTube, for example, or any other social media or any other outlet on the internet where you can learn from, right? There is someone, something that you can attune to understand the gap between where you're at and where you want to be, quote unquote, as an experience. Whatever it is that you need to learn, need to cultivate, need to develop, whether it's a skill, whether it's a knowledge base, whether it's a practice of some kind, it's all right there. And in that sense, we're living through the greatest time to be successful, even if you're lazy, to be happy, even if you're lazy, to be fulfilled, even if you're lazy, because all of it is available, right? The experience of other people to learn from that will save years of effort, of failure, of trials and tribulation, all of which you can still have from your own experience, but you can accelerate that by attuning to someone else who's done it. Years ago, when I was focused on making businesses, even though I went to business school, I studied finance, I studied marketing, I realized that I'd learned nothing in school. And I went to start businesses, and I wanted to learn from people who had done what I wanted to do. Not necessarily exactly what I was doing, but I wanted to learn from their mistakes. I wanted to learn from their successes. I wanted to attune myself to them so that I could make choices the way they made choices, so that I could make decisions, that I could take action, that I could accelerate my own success, my own journey. And on YouTube, look how many people are sharing their experience of success in business. You can attune to that. You can learn from that. You can develop the skills that are in alignment with your vision, with your inspiration, with your desire. You can still do it on your terms, in your way, but you can attune your frequency. You can attune your energy. You can attune your attitude to them. And in that sense, you are rich beyond your wildest dreams, because there's so much information, there's so much experience, and there's so much possibility for connection. And 50 years ago or 100 years ago, in order to have that information, you'd have to be in the right place at the right time with the right people in order to access that information. To have access to that experience, you'd have to be in the right place, knowing the right people at the right time, to have even the possibility of accessing that experience. And now it's right at your fingertips. And so we're also living through an era that reveals that there's no excuses whatsoever for you not being able to be where you want to be. It begins and ends with you. There's nothing off limits to you. There's nothing out of bounds. There's nothing that's not possible if you are only willing to learn. And there's a wonderful quote by Jim Rohn that just spoke to me so deeply when I heard it, is that learning that leads to knowledge will make you a fool. But learning that leads to action, that leads to embodiment, that will make you rich. And that's just it. Because when you take what you've learned and you put it into practice, you act on it, you embody it, you become wildly rich in every way that's meaningful to you. In terms of your fulfillment, in terms of your success, in terms of your financial freedom, in terms of your mental, emotional experience and your happiness and your fulfillment in life, your purpose, your relationships. There's so much information out there. There's so much experience from other people. There's so much vibrational goodness to attune to, that you can change your mindset, you can change your attitude, you can shift your self-concept. You can learn how to heal your trauma, your wounds. You can learn to uplift your mindset. You can learn to understand the mental, emotional, spiritual realms. You can attain realizations. You can achieve your goals. You can elevate your life in every aspect that is meaningful to you if you only have the will to learn how to do it and to execute on it, to act on it. That's the one thing that cannot be taught. Self-motivation. You see, it's self-motivation, which is the gift that you give yourself that keeps on giving. It's so many people that I talk with, that I encounter, they're relying on motivation from others. They're relying on motivation from the videos they're watching on YouTube. My friend, when you become your own source of motivation and you allow yourself to embrace your desires and you cultivate the practice of learning and acting on that learning, there's literally nothing that can stop you from anything that you want to experience in this life. You are the creator of your reality, and you create your reality fundamentally from that self-concept, that self that you are to yourself, right? That's your beliefs, that's your thoughts, that's your feelings about yourself and the feelings about life. That's those habits that you have. That's the action that you take or don't take. But it's all predicated on that sort of core belief, that core concept of yourself. That is malleable. That is like plastic. It's moldable. But it's up to you to mold it. And right now, at your fingertips, you have all the tools, all the resources, all the people, all the wisdom and knowledge and experience to help you mold that into whatever you desire it to be. But no one can do it for you. So we have all these tools, all this access to information, but how often are we using it against ourselves? How often are we using it to distract ourselves? How often are we using it to numb ourselves rather than elevate ourselves, accelerate ourselves? How often are we using it against ourselves rather than for ourselves or for the benefit of others? You see, it's a lack of priorities, my friend. So what I would love to encourage you to do is to understand what matters the most to you. What is it that you truly desire? Why is that important? And what are you willing to do to make that a reality? Because right now, you have more resources than you could spend lifetimes to consume. So there are no excuses for you to become and experience and create anything that you desire to create. You are your own greatest ally and potentially your own greatest enemy. But it's up to you to decide who you are to yourself.